You've been noticing it again, haven't you? That same number, that same name, that same heavy thought that keeps returning when no one else is around. You tried to ignore it. But deep down, you've been wondering, is this just in my head? Or is Allah trying to tell me something? This moment is your answer. 1. When Allah wants to reach you, He speaks in patterns, not noise. It always starts in ways you don't expect. You'll be sitting quietly, not thinking about anything spiritual. You might be tired, scrolling, just going through your day like usual. And then something small pulls at your attention. A word, a verse, a name, a moment that feels familiar, even though you've never lived it before. At first, you ignore it. You tell yourself, it's nothing, just coincidence. But then it happens again, and again. A certain ayah plays in a reel. Then you hear the same verse in a khutbah. Then someone randomly texts you that same message, not knowing what you've been going through. It starts showing up in conversations, on signs, in books you weren't planning to read, in places that seem too random to mean anything. And yet, your heart feels like it's being pulled back to that same point. That same word, that same message, that same feeling, it keeps returning to you, even when you try to move on. You feel like you're being followed by something invisible, not in a scary way, but in a delicate, intentional, almost sacred way. And no matter how much you try to forget it, life keeps circling you back to that one thing. You try to explain it to someone. You say, "It's strange. I've been seeing this over and over again." You look at them, hoping they'll feel what you're feeling. But they don't. They shrug, smile, tell you it's nothing, that you're just imagining things. But deep down, you know, this isn't your imagination. This isn't random, because the repetition is too exact, too timely, too emotionally precise to be accidental. You weren't looking for it, but it kept finding you. And when things find you without effort, when certain messages seem to chase you through your days, when moments start to feel connected by an unseen thread, that's not your brain playing games with you. That's your Rabb trying to wake your heart up gently, because Allah knows how sensitive your soul is. He knows how easily you get overwhelmed. He knows you've been tired lately, confused, and quietly begging for a sign, even if you haven't spoken it out loud. So He doesn't always guide you with thunder. He doesn't send big miracles to crash into your day. Instead, He whispers through your surroundings. He paints your life with small repetitions, patterns, moments that feel like déjà vu, but they're actually reminders, placed gently in your path to pull you closer to Him. And when Allah repeats a sign in your life, it's not to frustrate you, it's to retrain your heart, to remind your soul how to feel again, to teach you how to see with more than just your eyes. He's telling you, look again. There's something here you've been ignoring. And so, the same thing keeps showing up, until one day, you stop brushing it off, you stop calling it coincidence. And you finally ask the question your soul has been holding in all this time. Ya Allah, is this you? And deep inside, in that soft, sacred place that words can't reach, you feel the answer. Yes, it was me. It was always me, and I've been guiding you all along. 2. If He took it away, it was standing in the way of your guidance. You asked for clarity. You begged Allah to guide you. You whispered at night, Ya Allah, show me the right path, protect me from what's wrong. And then something broke. Something you thought was meant for you disappeared. A person, a plan, a dream. Something that felt so right ended so suddenly, and you couldn't understand why. You tried to hold on to it, tried to fix it, tried to pray your way back into it. But no matter what you did, it kept slipping away, bit by bit, silently, without closure. without a goodbye, without an explanation. You cried, you blamed yourself, you wondered what you did wrong, and for a while it felt like punishment. But what if it wasn't? What if that heartbreak was actually a barrier falling? What if that loss was the exact protection you asked for? What if Allah didn't remove it to hurt you, but to guide you? Sometimes we can't hear what Allah is trying to say because our hands are too full of what we want. And the only way He can show us the truth is by emptying them. You didn't let go. You were let go of because the path you were clinging to was not leading you home. And Allah, in His mercy, doesn't just guide you toward what's good for you. He removes what's quietly destroying you, even if it's wrapped in love, comfort, or familiarity. He knew you wouldn't walk away on your own, so He allowed it to collapse, not to break your heart, but to rebuild your vision, to correct your direction, to protect your future from something your eyes couldn't yet see. Because you were praying for growth, weren't you? You were asking for clarity. You wanted peace. You asked Allah to bring you closer to Him, so He took something away. And that was the answer. The heartbreak wasn't the end. It was the beginning of redirection. The delay wasn't rejection. It was realignment. The person who left wasn't your destruction. They were the shield that blocked what was meant for you, until Allah gently removed them from your path. And yes, it hurts. Yes, you miss them. Yes, it felt like a betrayal. But sometimes what feels like abandonment is actually protection wearing a disguise. You kept asking, why did this happen to me? But maybe the real question was, what was Allah saving me from? You may not see it yet. You may still cry about it. You may still wish it ended differently. But one day you'll look back and your heart will whisper, Alhamdulillah, it didn't work out. Alhamdulillah, it ended. Alhamdulillah, I was guided before I got too lost. And on that day, you'll realize the blessing wasn't in what you wanted. It was in what Allah took away. He removed it so you could return. He ended it so you could begin again. He closed the door so He could open one that wouldn't collapse when you stepped through it. So no, it wasn't rejection. It wasn't failure. It wasn't the universe being cruel to you. It was love. It was mercy. It was divine intervention. Before your soul slipped too far into something you didn't even know was a trap. And this pain you feel now is the stretch between the version of you that was attached to what ended and the version of you that's about to be elevated. That's why it hurts so much, because something is leaving, but something better, something truer, something blessed is being written in its place. All you need to do now is trust the one who removed it, the one who sees what you don't, the one who heard your silent prayers and answered them in a way you weren't expecting. You're not being punished. You're being turned, guided, guarded, because what left you was standing in the way of everything your soul has been begging for. So let it go, let it hurt, let it heal. Because Allah's plan for you never required that person, that path, or that version of your life. And what's ahead is only for those brave enough to walk forward, even while still missing what they left behind. 3. The restlessness you feel is a form of divine communication. You've been feeling it, haven't you? This quiet restlessness in your chest, this uneasiness you can't explain. You try to sleep, but it follows you into your dreams. You try to distract yourself, but it lingers in the background. You try to act normal around others, but it weighs heavy behind your smile. You don't know what's wrong. Nothing big happened. No crisis, no disaster, but something just doesn't feel right anymore. You're tired, but not just the kind of tired that sleep fixes. This is different. This is soul tired, heart tired, the kind of tired that makes your entire body feel like it's carrying an invisible weight. You walk into the same spaces you used to love, and now they feel foreign, empty, office. You sit with people who once made you laugh, and now you feel like you don't belong there anymore, like your heart is somewhere else, and you don't even know where that somewhere else is. You try to go through your routine, but everything feels heavy. The joy isn't there like it used to be. The interest is fading, the pull is gone, and inside you keep asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel disconnected from everything? But my dear, what if nothing is wrong with you? What if this restlessness isn't a breakdown? What if it's a breakthrough in disguise? Because the truth is, sometimes Allah doesn't guide you with clear signs. Sometimes He guides you by making you uncomfortable where you're not meant to stay. This discomfort, this unease, this constant aching for something more. It's not a coincidence, it's a message. It's a spiritual signal, a divine nudge, a soft whisper from your Lord saying, you've outgrown this space. It's time to move toward what I created you for. When your soul is ready to rise, it can no longer stay in places that hold it down. It starts to resist, to push, to ache. And that ache is sacred. That ache is not your enemy. It's not here to ruin your peace. It's here to lead you to real peace. Because you asked for closeness to Allah, you asked for purpose, you asked for clarity. So He began the process, not by giving you more, but by making what's around you feel empty. He's draining the distractions, unplugging your attachment, waking up your soul from a sleep it didn't realize it had fallen into. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it can be confusing. But it's not confusion, it's transformation. You are shedding who you were, so you can become who you were meant to be. And that shift will always feel like something is breaking inside of you. But in reality, something sacred is being born. You are being taught to stop seeking peace in what's temporary and to start finding it in what's eternal. That's why the conversations you used to enjoy now feel meaningless. That's why the goals you chased don't satisfy you anymore. That's why you sit in silence and feel your soul aching for a type of closeness that the world can't give you. Because it isn't worldly closeness you're craving, it's divine nearness, and this restlessness is the path to that. You don't need to panic. You're not lost. You're being guided through feeling. Because Allah guides through more than just words. He guides through emotions, through discomfort, through subtle changes in your energy. You don't have to know the next step. You just need to honor what your soul is trying to tell you. I can't breathe here anymore. I need something deeper. I want my Rab more than I want this world. And if you're feeling that way, that's not something to hide. That's something to respect, because it means you're listening. It means you're awakening. It means your fitra, the natural part of you that remembers Allah, is alive again. That alone is a miracle. So if you feel restless, if your days feel heavy, if nothing around you satisfies your soul anymore, don't rush to fix it. Don't drown it in distractions. Don't label it as a problem. Sit with it. Talk to Allah about it. Let Him realign you, because what you're feeling is not emptiness. It's space being made for something higher. And one day soon, you'll look back and realize that the heaviness, the restlessness, the ache, it wasn't the end of your peace. It was the beginning of your return. 4. You see what others don't, because your soul is awake. You've been feeling it, haven't you? This quiet restlessness in your chest, this uneasiness you can't explain. You try to sleep, but it follows you into your dreams. You try to distract yourself, but it lingers in the background. You try to act normal around others, but it weighs heavy behind your smile. You don't know what's wrong. Nothing big happened. No crisis, no disaster, but something just doesn't feel right anymore. You're tired, but not just the kind of tired that sleep fixes. This is different. This is soul tired, heart tired. The kind of tired that makes your entire body feel like it's carrying an invisible weight. You walk into the same spaces you used to love, and now they feel foreign, empty, office. You sit with people who once made you laugh, and now you feel like you don't belong there anymore, like your heart is somewhere else, and you don't even know where that somewhere else is. You try to go through your routine, but everything feels heavy. The joy isn't there like it used to be. The interest is fading. The pull is gone. And inside, you keep asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel disconnected from everything? But my dear, what if nothing is wrong with you? What if this restlessness isn't a breakdown? What if it's a breakthrough in disguise? Because the truth is, sometimes Allah doesn't guide you with clear signs. Sometimes He guides you by making you uncomfortable where you're not meant to stay. This discomfort, this unease, this constant aching for something more, it's not a coincidence. It's a message. It's a spiritual signal, a divine nudge, a soft whisper from your Lord saying, you've outgrown this space. It's time to move toward what I created you for. When your soul is ready to rise, it can no longer stay in places that hold it down. It starts to resist, to push, to ache, and that ache is sacred. That ache is not your enemy. It's not here to ruin your peace. It's here to lead you to real peace, because you asked for closeness to Allah. You asked for purpose. You asked for clarity, so He began the process, not by giving you more, but by making what's around you feel empty. He's draining the distractions, unplugging your attachment, waking up your soul from a sleep it didn't realize it had fallen into. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it can be confusing, but it's not confusion. It's transformation. You are shedding who you were, so you can become who you were meant to be. And that shift will always feel like something is breaking inside of you. But in reality, something sacred is being born. You are being taught to stop seeking peace in what's temporary and to start finding it in what's eternal. That's why the conversations you used to enjoy now feel meaningless. That's why the goals you chase don't satisfy you anymore. That's why you sit in silence and feel your soul aching for a type of closeness that the world can't give you. Because it isn't worldly closeness you're craving, it's divine nearness. And this restlessness is the path to that. You don't need to panic. You're not lost. You're being guided through feeling. Because Allah guides through more than just words. He guides through emotions, through discomfort, through subtle changes in your energy. You don't have to know the next step. You just need to honor what your soul is trying to tell you. I can't breathe here anymore. I need something deeper. I want my Rab more than I want this world. And if you're feeling that way, that's not something to hide. That's something to respect, because it means you're listening. It means you're awakening. It means your fitra, the natural part of you that remembers Allah, is alive again. That alone is a miracle. So if you feel restless, if your days feel heavy, if nothing around you satisfies your soul anymore, don't rush to fix it. Don't drown it in distractions. Don't label it as a problem. Sit with it. Talk to Allah about it. Let Him realign you, because what you're feeling is not emptiness. It's space being made for something higher. And one day soon, you'll look back and realize that the heaviness, the restlessness, the ache, it wasn't the end of your peace. It was the beginning of your return. 5. He's guiding you through what you're trying to escape from. You've been trying to move on, trying to stay busy, trying to silence that ache inside you. with distractions, noise, people, routines, anything, because every time you slow down, it comes back. That thought, that memory, that emotion you can't name, and you hate it because it makes your chest tighten, it makes your eyes sting, it makes you feel weak, even when you've been so strong for everyone else. So you keep trying to run from it. You scroll faster, you laugh louder, you fill your day with noise, just so you don't have to sit with it. But no matter how fast you run, it keeps finding you. In the quiet moments, in your sujood, in the stillness before sleep. It returns, softly, painfully, and always with the same question echoing inside. Why does this hurt so much? But maybe the pain isn't the enemy. Maybe the pain is the invitation. Maybe this thing you keep trying to escape isn't here to destroy you. Maybe it's here to guide you. Because when Allah wants to heal a wound, He doesn't always numb it. Sometimes He reopens it, not to harm you, but to reach the part of you that's been hiding too long, the part that locked itself away because it was too afraid to feel again. You're not being haunted. You're being called, that memory that keeps coming back. It's not here to torture you. It's here to teach you, to free you, to remind you of something you buried, but never truly released. Because Allah doesn't just guide us through clarity, He guides us through the storm, through the ache, through the very thing we thought we had to escape from to survive. And maybe that's what's happening to you now. You're in the middle of a divine pull. But because it hurts, you've mistaken it for a setback. But it's not a setback. It's a sacred interruption. Allah is using what hurts to heal what's been hurting longer than you admitted. He's showing you what you've been avoiding, not to shame you, but to finally set you free. Because the thoughts you keep pushing away, the ones that visit in the dark, that break you unexpectedly, that show up when you think you've moved on, those aren't weakness. Those are whispers. Whispers from the parts of you still asking for healing, still asking for answers, still waiting for you to finally sit with them and say, I hear you now, I'm not running anymore. And in that moment, when you stop fighting the ache, when you stop trying to outrun what your soul wants to feel, you'll hear something even deeper. You'll hear your Lord saying, I was guiding you through this the whole time. Because sometimes the test isn't in the thing that broke you, it's in your reaction to the breaking. Would you turn back to Him? Would you sit in the discomfort long enough to let it teach you? Would you finally stop running and allow yourself to be transformed? That's where the real healing begins, not in escaping, but in returning, in sitting with your pain, as if it was placed there by the one who knows exactly where it hurts, and exactly what it will take to heal it. And maybe that's why it keeps coming back, because you keep asking Allah to guide you, but you're refusing to sit with the very thing He sent to guide you through. You keep praying for strength, but rejecting the experience that would build it. You keep asking for healing, but running from the wound. You keep asking for clarity, but closing your eyes when the truth stings. But what if the ache is the answer? What if that person, that heartbreak, that buried grief, what if it's not a distraction? What if it's the exact moment Allah chose to meet you in, not when you had it all figured out, but when you were tired, raw, honest, because He's not waiting for you to be fixed. He's waiting for you to be real, to stop pretending you've moved on, to stop hiding your wounds beneath smiles, to stop fighting the emotions that were never meant to destroy you, only to open you, because you don't have to run anymore. You don't have to numb it anymore. You don't have to carry the weight alone anymore. If Allah brought it back to your heart, then it was never meant to be buried. It was meant to be held, to be spoken, to be cried through, to be turned into a door, not a wall. So let it hurt, let it rise, let it say everything it's been holding in, and then hand it to the one who already knew before you did. Before you even knew this pain existed, He had already written its purpose, and it wasn't to break you, it was to bring you back. So don't be afraid of what keeps returning. It's not here to trap you, it's here to carry you, to unfold a chapter of healing you would have never opened on your own. Because sometimes the very thing you run from the most is the very thing guiding you home. 6. You're not falling behind. You're being quietly turned. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That heaviness, that question that keeps looping in your chest. Why am I so far behind? Why does everyone seem ahead of me? Why do I feel like I'm just drifting? You look around, people are moving fast, friends are achieving things, doors are opening for others. And you're still stuck in the same cycle, still trying to figure it out, still trying to silence the ache that whispers, you should be further by now. You see people getting married, building their careers, starting families, posting their celebrations. And with every scroll, a quiet voice in your soul sighs, what happened to me? You try to stay grateful. You smile when they succeed. You say, Alhamdulillah, and you mean it. But deep down, you wonder why it's taking so long for you. Why is your path slower? Why do your plans keep falling apart? Why do your prayers feel like they're stuck in the sky, unanswered, unseen? And you wonder, did I miss something? Did I fail a test I didn't even know I was in? Is this delay a punishment? But no, it's not punishment, and you're not falling behind. You're being turned. Quietly, patiently, precisely. Allah is not rushing your journey because He's rearranging your heart first. He's not just giving you what you want. He's building you to carry what you want, without it destroying you. Because you weren't created to chase timelines. You were created to walk in divine timing. And divine timing isn't rushed. It's not loud. It doesn't follow the world's calendar. It follows your soul's readiness. Sometimes Allah doesn't delay the outcome. He delays you because there's still something inside that needs to break or heal or grow before you can handle the next step. And that's not failure, that's mercy. So don't mistake slowness for rejection. Don't mistake quiet for neglect. Don't mistake waiting for wasting. You are not late. You are being aligned. You are not stuck. You are being softened. You are not forgotten. You are being hidden until the version of you that's meant to rise is fully formed. Because if Allah had given you what you were begging for last year, you would have ruined it with the version of you that still didn't know how to carry it. So He paused the outcome. To work on you, He let the doors stay closed, not because you weren't worthy, but because you were still being shaped. You're not being punished, you're being protected from rushing, from pride, from self-destruction. He knows how delicate your soul is. He knows what would have broken you if it had come too soon. So instead of answering with noise, He answered with delay. Instead of speed, He sent stillness. Instead of giving you the destination, He became the destination. Because this period where you feel behind, this is where hearts are rewired, where attachments are broken, where false identities are shed, where sujood becomes deeper, where intentions are purified. This is not failure, this is formation. And sometimes that formation looks like loneliness, like distance, like failure, like loss. But in reality, it's divine construction, building the unseen part of you that no one claps for, but that Allah cherishes most, because your pace isn't slow, it's sacred, and your timeline isn't broken, it's blessed. You're not late to your purpose. You're arriving exactly when Allah knows you're ready, not when you think you are. So let them pass you, let them rush, let them post and celebrate and keep moving. Your story is not theirs. Your path is not supposed to match anyone else's, because what Allah is preparing for you requires more silence, more stillness, more detours, not because you're weak, but because your rise is deeper. You're not going to bloom in front of everyone. You're going to bloom in private, quietly, slowly, perfectly, and when it happens, it will be so clear that every delay was a doorway, every pause was protection, every long night was part of your rewriting. So stop measuring your life against people who don't carry your calling. Stop rushing your heart to reach something it was never supposed to chase. Allah isn't just changing your circumstances, He's changing you. And when He's done, the version of you that stands up won't just catch up, it will stand out with light, with strength, with a story no one saw coming. Because the people who seem ahead now, they didn't walk your road, they didn't carry your grief, they didn't pass through the quiet fire Allah is pulling you through. And that fire isn't failure, it's transformation. You're not falling behind, you're being turned from this world toward the one who wrote your name before time began. 7. The gut feeling that stops you is not just you, it's Him. You were about to do it. You were going to send the message. Say what you always say. Return to something you know isn't good for your soul. Open a door that Allah already closed. And just as you were about to move forward, you froze. Something in your chest pulled you back. A quiet voice, a strange tightening, a stillness you couldn't explain. You told yourself, maybe I'm just scared. Maybe I'm overthinking. But the feeling wouldn't go away. And deep down, you knew something wasn't right. You couldn't explain it. There were no red flags, no warnings, just a quiet heaviness, an unseen signal. You tried to ignore it, tried to silence it with logic, tried to convince yourself it's nothing. But Allah doesn't always guide you through obvious signs. Sometimes, He just places something inside your chest that doesn't sit right. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft, consistent discomfort that follows you around like a shadow. And when that discomfort speaks, that is guidance. Because the heart of the believer has been gifted with something the world doesn't understand. A filter, a compass, a silent alarm system that goes off when something isn't from Him. That's not your fear, that's not your overthinking, that's Him, that's Allah, quietly tugging at your soul, protecting you, turning you, stopping you before you walk into something that would destroy your peace. You've felt it before, moments where you were about to say yes, but your heart screamed no. Moments where everything looked right, but nothing felt right. Moments where people said, "Why are you hesitating?" And you had no answer, except that strange deep pull inside your chest. That pull is divine. It is not anxiety, it is not hesitation, it is not cowardice, it is wisdom, it is protection, it is mercy, it is Allah speaking through silence, because Allah doesn't just speak in verses and dreams, He speaks through that still small voice inside of you, especially when you've been praying for clarity but haven't yet received the words. That's why you suddenly feel uneasy in places you used to love. That's why conversations you once enjoyed now feel off. That's why you hesitate around someone, even if they look perfect on paper. Because something your heart knows, what your eyes haven't caught yet, Allah is turning you. Before your heart gets too attached, before your soul gets too tangled, before your peace gets sold for a moment of comfort. And when Allah blocks something, He doesn't always show you the danger. He just gives you the feeling. Because if you knew what He was saving you from, you'd fall into sujud in tears of gratitude. You'd cry not for what you lost, but for how close you came to losing yourself. And maybe that's why He doesn't explain it, because sometimes your test is in the trust. Will you obey the quiet signal, even when your heart wants to move forward? Or will you chase what feels familiar and silence the very voice He placed to save you? That's where the real surrender begins, not when things are clear, but when they're not. When the people around you don't understand, when your nafs is begging you to go back, when every part of you wants to take the shortcut. But you stop, because that feeling won't leave. That feeling is sacred. It's not weakness. It's your fitra whispering, "This isn't where I belong." So don't be ashamed of the decisions you couldn't explain. Don't feel guilty for walking away without evidence. Don't doubt yourself for not having the words to justify your distance. Sometimes Allah gives you nothing but a feeling and expects you to trust it. And that trust, that obedience to what He placed inside your chest, that is guidance in its purest form. Because how many disasters have you quietly avoided just by listening to the unease? How many heartbreaks did you narrowly escape just by trusting that something wasn't right? You'll never know how many tears Allah spared you by making you pause in moments where the world told you to go. And that's okay. You don't need to know, you just need to keep listening. Because He knows what you don't, He sees what you can't, and His guidance doesn't always look like a green light. Sometimes it looks like a heavy heart. And the greatest form of faith is when you say, "Ya Allah, I don't understand this feeling, but I trust that you placed it there for a reason." That's not doubt, that's devotion, that's not fear, that's faith, that's not overthinking. That's Allah overriding your decisions with His mercy. And maybe one day, when you're standing in a place that brings you peace, surrounded by the light you never imagined, you'll look back and whisper, "Alhamdulillah, I listened to what He placed inside me." 8. This moment is the proof you asked for. You've been asking for a sign. Quietly, desperately, without telling anyone. Maybe you didn't say it out loud, but your heart did, in the middle of the night. When you looked up and whispered, "Ya Allah, if you're guiding me, show me something. Send me a sign, any sign, please." And then, this found you. These words, this moment, this video, this exact part of your journey. And your chest feels tight, your eyes feel heavy, because something in these words feels like it was meant for you. It's not a coincidence. This isn't just a nice reminder. This is a response. This is a divine delivery. This is Allah's way of saying, "I heard you, even when you thought I was silent, even when you thought your dua got lost in the sky." Because He never misses a whisper. He never forgets a tear. He never leaves a sincere seeker unanswered. Sometimes the answer doesn't come as a miracle. Sometimes it comes as a moment that breaks you, a moment that finds you at 2 a.m. when the world is asleep, a moment that feels like someone has been reading your thoughts, a moment where your soul says, "Wait, how did this find me now?" That's not luck. That's not an algorithm. That's your Lord, who knew exactly when your heart would need this. Because you've been drowning in questions. You've been walking through days pretending you're fine. You've smiled when your heart was numb. You've prayed with tears that no one saw. And all this time, you've been waiting for an answer. Something that says, "Allah hasn't forgotten me. Allah still sees me. Allah is still writing something for me." And now you're here, reading this, with a strange ache in your chest, the kind that only shows up when your soul recognizes a truth it wasn't ready to admit. You're not here by accident. You're not watching this because you were bored. You didn't stumble across these words randomly. This was placed in your path, carefully, lovingly, perfectly, because you've been praying for guidance, but you didn't know it would come like this. You thought it would be loud, clear, immediate, but instead it came in whispers, patterns, moments that made your heart pause. Until now, it's undeniable. This is your confirmation. This is your sign. This is your "I'm still here" from Allah. All those questions, He heard them. All that confusion, He saw it. Every time you wanted to give up, He was closer than you realized, but sometimes he waits, not to hurt you, not to test your patience unnecessarily, but to let your heart soften enough to receive what your mind wasn't ready to understand. Because if this had reached you earlier, you might have brushed it off. If it had come during a happy season, you wouldn't have felt the depth. If it had arrived when your ego was loud, your soul wouldn't have heard it. But now you're ready. Now your chest is open. Now your tears are honest. Now your heart is asking the right questions. And so he gave you this moment, not as an answer to everything, but as a reminder. You're not alone in the silence. You're not forgotten in the waiting. You're not lost in your doubts. Because the fact that you're even here, still seeking, still watching, still reaching, is proof that Allah hasn't turned away from you. He brought you here to remind you that He hasn't stopped guiding you, not for 1 second. He's just been guiding you in ways you couldn't see when your eyes were too tired, when your heart was too full of noise, when your hope was too buried in sadness. But tonight, He lifted the veil, just enough to let one whisper pass through. And that whisper is this: you asked for proof, and I gave you this moment. So come back, come closer. You're not behind, you're not broken. You're not forgotten, you are mine. Let that sink in. Let it melt through every doubt you've been carrying. Let it wipe the shame you've buried under silence. Let it remind you, Allah does not need your perfection. He just wants your presence, your sincerity, your honesty. You asked for a sign, and this is the moment He chose to send it. So breathe, cry if you need to, fall into sujood if your knees still remember how. Open the Quran, even if it's been weeks, or months, or years, because this is not the end. This is the beginning, and this moment is the proof you asked for. So no, you weren't imagining it. You weren't overthinking. You weren't just being too sensitive. You were being spoken to, guided, held, by the one who never needed a voice to reach you. Because He always knew how to whisper to your soul every sign you saw, every discomfort you felt, every repeat moment that made you pause. It wasn't a glitch in your day. It was a message, personal, quiet, precise. And this moment, this video, this exact second that you're still here listening, it was written to catch you before you drifted too far, to pull you back with gentleness, not force, to remind you you're not lost, you're not late, you're not forgotten, you are being guided even in your silence, because you asked Allah to show you something and He gave you this.